What up? Welcome to another episode of The Locker Room. I'm AJ Ramos, and today I have the pleasure of being joined with Jonathan Ornelas. Thank you, man, for being a part of this, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the reach out.
Yeah, for sure, man. So where did you drive from? From Texas to Arizona?
Yeah, we just got done with the season about a week ago, so I was down, kind of getting everything ready and set up and getting everything kind of packed up. So went from Dallas where we ended the season. I went to Austin because our AAA is in Austin, so I had to get some stuff from down
Oh,
there,
wow.
and then so just got back today.
Okay. How long is that drive?
It was, I think, 15, all of 15, maybe
Ooh-wee.
16. Yeah.
Man, so are you a podcast guy? Are you listen to music or like what's the vibe with that?
So I think I'm a big music guy. I
Okay.
throw on a bunch of different genres and stuff, and then I throw on a couple baseball games, kind of listen to them there. But I
Right.
mean, I've listened to some podcasts before.
Okay. What music you go with?
Can't go wrong with Spanish music.
Okay.
Yeah,
N-
I'm a big like everybody likes reggaeton and all that
Yeah.
stuff, but I like Mexican music, like some cumbia, some banda, some corrido, stuff like that. So
Okay.
get it
Okay.
all in
Yeah, man. I love it, man. That sounds like a good car ride to me.
for
I'll be
sure.
jamming out that whole way, bro. That's dope. Yeah. But so the first question I want to ask you is your debut was a little bit different than maybe most people's, right? Explain that day to me and why it was different.
Kind of going all the way back until when I got told that I was getting called up, it wasn't like those normal call ups where it's like you gather everybody around after a game or however it may be and kind of get a whole story or whatever, and then everybody congratulates you. It was kind of we were getting ready for a game, like I want to say we were hitting the cage, and this was probably like an hour before the game, so I'm hitting the cage against some swings, and the manager was in there, which we
Okay.
already thought was kind of weird because he usually never sits through cage time. He's usually doing something outside with the pitchers or with whoever. And so that was already kind of like a hey, what's he doing here? And just out of nowhere, like we get done hitting flips and everything, we're getting ready to go to the machine. I step in, I bunt a couple, see what the machine's like. I take one swing, hit it, hit a line drive, and he doesn't even like say anything to me. He kind of just yells at the hitting coach who's feeding the machine. He goes, his name's Lawson. He goes, yo, Law, you think J.O.'s gonna need that many swings for when he goes to Oakland tomorrow? And I'm thinking in my head like Oakland, like Oakland's Vegas, their Triple A is Vegas. I was like, we didn't go to Vegas next week. We go back home. And so I'm like, it's kind of still going through my head, and everybody gets excited and kind of comes up to me, and I'm still trying to process the moment. But then I ended up being like, oh wait, the big league team's going to Oakland, and I was like, oh shoot. So then kind of everybody got excited. I got happy. Like I started like I teared up. Like I was like, damn, this
Hell
is for
yeah.
real. Yeah, it's for real. And so just that everything that I called my parents, they were super excited. Called my boys, my friends. They caught the first flight out to Oakland the next day. And then just like when I actually debuted, I got there, everybody was so welcoming. It was awesome. And then I wasn't starting that day because it was a righty. And I remember going to the game and everybody telling me kind of how it was like, yo, make sure you're ready because Boch is old school. Like he plays matchups. You just always be ready to go in the game. You never know. And I
Right.
like didn't know what that really meant until it was like the eighth inning and I think I want to say we were the tie game or we were down by one. And he was like, yo, make sure you stretch in the fifth, sixth inning in the cages because you never know, whatever. And so I did, and I was ready to go. But even nobody had given me like heads up, like, hey, you might run here. It was kind of like I'm down there, got my stuff on just in case. And just out of nowhere, the guy gets on base. I think it was a catcher. It might have been Garver or Jonah Heim. Like I
I
just
believe
hear
it was
from the other,
Garver, I read. Yeah.
yeah. And I think all I heard was, Jail, you're running. And I was like, oh shoot. So I kind of scrambled. I was like, I know where my helmet's at, but I like got lost in the moment. Like, damn, like, so I just had to get my helmet and go out there. And then, yeah, I ended up scoring the go ahead run, and we ended up winning that game, and it was kind of cool. So that was my debut.
Well, I also read too that that was the first time that a Rangers player made their debut and scored. Their debut was a pinch run, and they score a run, a go-ahead run to win the game. So
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy, man. And I love when managers um, tell players that they're going up in a creative way. For me, whenever I got called up, it was after we had just got knocked out of the running for the playoffs or whatever. If we would have won that game, we would have went to the playoffs. And I think I threw 3 innings that day too. And the manager or the pitching coach tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Yo, come to the office." And I was so down because I had lost the game. I gave up a walk off like grand slam or something like that. So I was down. So like I don't know what I thought he was gonna tell me. I walked into the office and he was like, we were in Jackson, Mississippi, and we were supposed to get our flights from, if we lost that day, from Jackson to wherever our off season is. And he was like, "Hey man, I got some bad news, but I got some also good news." He was like, "Bad news is we canceled your flight from Mississippi to Lubbock." He was like, "But here's the options." He goes, "You can either take the 10-hour bus ride from Mississippi to Jacksonville, Florida, and then get your flight there, or you can go to the airport here in a minute and that flight's going to Miami because you're going to be a big leaguer." And so like it was like give me one of those situations, and this same thing, bro. Like even when my manager told me, his voice cracked when he
Yeah.
told me because like I mean I was one of those guys that like it wasn't I was a hard worker, so for me to be able to accomplish that, everyone was happy for me because I was just working hard. So like they felt that. But another thing that was pretty crazy. So your debut was in the Oakland Coliseum, and then you were there playing the last series, right? Did I have that right? Yeah.
Yep.
What was it like playing there for you? Was it like bittersweet for you because it probably meant just a little bit more to you than maybe some of your other teammates, with the exception of like Simeon, you know?
Yeah. No, for sure. I kind of told some of the guys, I was like the Oakland Coliseum, like this is one of the oldest parks in baseball, and you have an actual kind of baseball feeling because it's outdoors.
Yeah.
I know they didn't have great crowds for a long time, but those last 3 days were electric. I mean, it was 30, 40 plus all three. Like I couldn't even hear my pitch calm. I had it all the way up. I couldn't even hear that thing. But I
Man.
remember telling some of the guys before the game, I was like, damn, like this is kind of special for me because I debuted here. So I'm kind of gonna miss this place a little bit more, even though like it may not have been the nicest compared to the all the new places that are being
Right.
built now. Like everything else aside, like I was like, damn, I'm gonna miss this place.
Yeah, and there's so much history there,
Yeah.
and even like you mentioned for you, like to know that you had a part of that and you were part of the history of that, and that's got to be like a pretty cool like realization. The other thing I wanted to ask you, so like these past couple of years, there's been a lot of like up and down, right, from AAA to the big leagues, and some people can register that and allow that to mess up their flow, right? Because that's tough. You're traveling, you're getting the word, and you're filling in a spot or whatever. The other thing too is like I guess it's a little bit easier for you to understand because you have Simeon, you have Seager and Young, so and all those guys up there. So like you're kind of blocked. How do you keep the right mindset, allow you to stay hungry and not feel defeated, even though you're being blocked? Your position was blocked all those times. So how do you perceive that?
I think the biggest way that I do it is just kind of once you get up there, it's like everybody says that the travel is different, the food is different, the way even that you're just treated is different. So for me, my mindset has been like when I got up there and I finally got to experience what it was like, I was like, I never want to go back to the minor leagues and back to how that life is. So
Right.
to me, that's keeping me hungry. It's like, damn, yeah, I got here, but now what can I do to stay here? Like I want to be a guy who can contribute. I mean, obviously everybody wants to be everyday big leaguer, but if I get to be a guy who gets to play a couple times a week and be a kind of a role player, like especially with like you said, a loaded team with a bunch of guys like that, like I'd be happy. I'm just happy to do my part for the team who won the World Series last year and then trying to get back on track after kind of a down year this year. But I think just the mentality of I mean, you got here, but that's not it. Like you want to stay here. You want to do you want to do your job. You know what I mean? So I think I've always been a guy who, even being up and down, I've always been a guy who sees like the positive side of everything. So like, damn, I got a chance to be up. I get a chance to be up in the big leagues. I'm that guy. Like, there's not a lot of people that even get to do that aspect.
Right.
So yeah, I think that.
Yeah, I think that's an important mindset to have because obviously it's still you still have a goal in mind, and the thing is like what I was getting at is that some people when they feel blocked. I played with some guys who like because with the Marlins they had a loaded outfield when I was there. Stanton, Yelich, Ozuna, and there were some guys that felt blocked, and their attitudes when they would come in was a very defeated one, or they felt like they made more of the situation. They felt like they had to do more to like show that they can play. You know what I mean? Because that's something that's very hard to deal with because you want to go up there and play every day and you feel like you have the skills to, but you're blocked. You know what I mean? So like, do you have those type of thoughts that come into your head, and how do you get rid of them? Because If you're thinking like that, that's not a winning mindset, right? That's something that is inhibiting you from being able to see ways to improve when you're looking at things in such a negative way. So how do you go about navigating that?
So if I told you that I didn't have those thoughts, I'd be lying to you. I mean, I'm sure mostly everybody does, but I'm remembering now this one thing that I was told, and Adolis is the one that told me this, and we were talking about it
Mm.
just a couple of weeks ago before the season ended, and he goes, "Listen, I was in your exact same position. I was with the Cardinals. I was on the 40 man. I was up and down. I never really got a chance to fully play every day to show that I belong and to show that I'm an everyday big leaguer." But he said, "You're just like me. Like you're just one day away, one step away from getting that opportunity and showing that you're a baller, because everybody here got an opportunity and took advantage of it. So you're just that little step away. Like, never stop believing in
Mm.
yourself, never stop working hard, because anything can happen at any time. It's a long season. So just like he said, you're a star. It just hasn't come out yet because you haven't gotten the opportunity to let it out. So I've taken that into consideration a lot, and it's crazy because it's true. Thinking back, when he came over to the Rangers at first, he was on the side fields with us, like,
Yep.
and then he ended up balling out, made the team, and he just never looked back from there. So it's like, I'm like, damn, that's so true.
Yeah, it's staying ready and being ready for for that opportunity when the opportunity comes. I think people miss out on that because they're worried about, well, I feel like I should be here and I've done this, and maybe they've been playing good or do whatever craft that they're doing very well, but they're not receiving the benefits from it yet. It's like they somehow they lose that confidence, or they lose the ability to see things in a different way that doesn't allow them to be ready for when that opportunity hits,
Right.
right? And that's gonna be my another question. That was gonna be another question of mine, is like, with a team full of veterans like that, especially ones that play your position, has there any of those guys, giving you any tips or taking you under their wing, or even if they haven't like done it directly, are there other things that you've learned from them indirectly by watching them and their routines and stuff?
Absolutely. And the biggest example that I tell everybody is Semyon. Semyon, he has a contract. There's no reason that he should be worried or anything, but the man is the hardest working person I may have ever met. This guy doesn't shy away from his routine. He does everything he needs to do all the time. He's in the weight room, even if he doesn't feel good, if he didn't play good. Like, he's the epitome of being the same guy, 4 for 4 or 0 for 4.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, it's true. Like, you got to work. You got to work. Like, not your body's fault, or it's nothing. No, it's just a game. It's not your body's fault that you just went 0 for 4. So are you not gonna do your post
Right.
game routine to feel good? Because then tomorrow you come to the field and you're gonna have another 0 for 4 day because you didn't take care of your body the day before. So he's a big one, and he takes ground balls every single day. He's hitting on the field almost every single day. Like, it's crazy because he has everything, but he's still working hard, and you can still tell that he has passion for the game. So he's a big person that I try to pick his brain a lot, and he gives me a lot of tips, which I think is really cool. And then same thing with a bunch of other guys. Like, I talked to everybody.
Yeah.
Scherzer was a big one too. Scherzer kind of surprised me because he was one of those guys. When I went up to the big leagues, I was like, he's kind of scary. Like, he's been in the big leagues for a long time. Like, I'm scared. Like, I don't want to just talk to him. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till he talks to me. And so one day, I think it was last year when I debuted. We were in Cleveland a week later, and I went into the clubhouse mid game to stretch out and get some stuff to get ready just in case I was going to go in. And he like pulled me aside and he had a conversation. He was like, "Listen, times have changed. I'm pulling you aside because like I want to talk to you about something." Usually in the past, guys will just like call people out in front of the whole team like they don't care.
Mm.
But said times have changed and I'm going to address you directly. Said, "What positions do you play?" I said, "I play mostly infield." He said, "What about some outfield?" I go, "Yeah, I mean, I can play some outfield." He goes, "Okay, listen, versatility in this game is very valuable. So if you can play the outfield, make sure you're getting reps in because you never know what can happen. And if you can play that, that'll get you in the lineup. Like, make sure you're working at it so that way when you go out there, you're ready for that opportunity." Said, you don't need anybody to tell you what to do. You're a grown man. Said, you go out there, you take your ground balls in center or fly balls in center and left, wherever it may be, but make sure you're doing it. Because even though nobody's saying anything to you up here, because you're not going to be addressed like, "Hey, make sure you go out there and do it." Like,
Right.
they're writing stuff down. They're taking notes. They're seeing what you're doing and if you're working at it. So he told me that, and I was like, damn, like that's all, like that's cool that he came and told me, and I was like, appreciate the advice and everything, because coming from him, like, it means a lot. He's been up there for a long time.
The man has seen a lot of things. So he worked out at the Cressy Performance and down in Jupiter, Florida, and so I played against him a lot, but never had a conversation. Same thing. I thought the same thing as you. Is like, this guy has this like these crazy looking eyes. He always looks like he's mad, and then when he walks around, he just looks like one
Yeah,
of those guys that's like you don't want to cross paths with on a bad day or do something wrong in front of him. But I met him in Jupiter, and he's one of the coolest dudes, hard worker, and he was one of the guys like during the what was it during the CBA. He was really and the lockout and all that stuff. He was really talking to all the young guys and explaining to everybody what is going on and why, and just he was just willing to help as many guys as possible. And like you got to love veterans like that. And there's since even since I've been in the big leagues, more and more guys I feel like are like that are still in the game, are more caring, because at around my time and maybe before, veterans weren't always like accepting of rookies. You know what I mean? And that's what he was saying about times has changed, because back in the day, man, like if a rookie was in the training room, nah, that ain't you don't do that. You know what I mean? And if you make one mistake, and they're always writing you and like telling you to do things and like in a bad way. And I never really got that, man. There was some guys that came up with me that were they were ridden hard by some guys. Luckily I was cool with a veteran, and so like no one ever messed with me because I was like cool with the veterans. I was like prison actually, like you don't mess with my
Yeah.
guy. You know what I mean? So like that was Ricky Nolasco. He took me under his wing, and like I was always good. No one ever gave me crap or anything like that. So I was lucky with that. But yeah, times have changed now. Because the thing is whoever comes on your team, whether it be a rookie or veteran, they're there to help your ball club win. So I never got like treating people any negative way. And speaking of that, so did they make you rookie dress up, or did you have to? And what was your song on the bus? What was your duties on the plane and on the bus? Were you getting the beers? Were you getting like what were your roles? What was your rookie duties?
Yeah, so I absolutely had rookie dress up, and this was last year. Scherzer actually set it up. It was Scherzer, and I want to say it was Will Smith. Two funny guys. They're like you said, like the nice veterans that you like. When you meet them, you're like, scary, but then once you get to know them, they're awesome.
Yep.
So they set it up. We came back after a game, and everything was already set up. It was already in your locker. The rookies already had their stuff. It was the Canadian tuxedo. And for the people who don't know, the Canadian tuxedo is just basically like fully denim. And we had a denim hat. We had the only thing that wasn't denim was we had like a t-shirt under. It was like messing with Canada. It was like, because we were going to Toronto that trip.
Okay.
It was like I Heart Canada or Canadian or like something like that. And then we had a denim vest with like patches everywhere that was like A, or I love Canada, I'm from Canada, whatever. And it was like
Canada.
yeah, it was so funny. They cut pants into shorts. So it was like little jorts, like super tight, but like funny. And then we got like loafers that were denim too. So it was hilarious. And then we flew to Toronto. We got to Toronto that night. I got a call like 10 minutes into I'm changing. I'm ready to go to bed. It's late. It's like 12, 1 in the morning. I get a phone call from another rookie. He's like, yo, what are you doing? I go, I'm just getting ready for bed. He goes, you want to go out? And I was like, not really. He goes, we're going out. The veterans say we're going out. Get ready.
Yeah.
Be down in 5 minutes. I go, all right, let me take a quick shower and change. He goes, no, 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 no. He goes, you're wearing what you wore on the plane. Come on. I said, damn. So we went out in all denim, and it was just like 5 of us. And so the reason that it's hilarious too is because all the rookies had denim Canadian tuxedo, and all the other guys were dressed in USA gear because clearly all of us are from the US, a team from the US.
Yeah.
So it's just a bunch of guys in USA stuff, like just like stars and stripes and shirts and all this and all that. And then there's just a couple rookies that are in Canadian stuff. And so like the contrast was funny. We went out, I was talking to some Canadians. They're so nice, by the way. Like
Oh yeah.
that city's crazy. Like
It's
it's so
really dope.
beautiful. There's so much to do, and they're so nice. Like, I remember going up to one of them. We were having a conversation, and I go, "This doesn't offend you? Like we're making fun of like Canadian stuff." And he goes, "It's hilarious." I go, "Damn, that's awesome. That's cool." So that was my rookie dress up. This was last year, kind of in September. My duties were taking beer. I was
Okay.
on that for a little bit. This year, I got away with it. I didn't have to do it since I'm still technically a rookie, but there
Yeah.
was
But you're
younger
old now.
rookies.
You're
Yeah,
old
there's
now.
younger, exactly. That, and then my song on the bus, I did Fergalicious. Fergalicious is,
Fergalicious, defalicious, make the girls go loco.
yes,
Yeah.
but I got booed. I got booed off.
Did they send you to the shitter?
Yeah, they sent me to the back. They said, come back with something better.
Oh yeah. So did
I
you
had
come
to
back
come
with something
back.
better?
I came back, and I just told the story. I told a story about like, I want to say like my time in Toronto, what we did going
Oh,
out and stuff like that. and they love that. They're like,
Okay.
yeah, like because they're living through you, stuff like that. So
Hell yeah.
yeah, so it was just hilarious.
I mean, that's what we're doing right now, bro.
Right.
That's what this is all about. Like sharing stories,
Yeah.
giving your perspective on how you navigate what it is to be successful. You know, the
Right.
ups and the downs of it. And like, so when you tell a real story, it's from the heart. I bet the guys love that. For me, I had to. We were going to New York, and they dressed us up as water polo players. So we had like the little speedo and the headgear, and they gave us all like the water polo balls. And we got on the plane to New York like that, got on the bus like that. We drove through Times Square. They dropped us off in the middle of Times Square, and they were like, "You guys had to find your way to the hotel." Heath Bell was with the Marlins at that time, and he was actually our coach. He was in like the gray like shorts, like short shorts, and he had a whistle and headband and stuff. So he charged us through the middle of Times Square. I was like posting up people. You know how people in
Yeah.
they do that in what?
Yeah.
So I was doing that during Times Square, and it was like, I don't know, I would say it was probably like 50 degrees outside or whatever.
Oh,
But then after that, we went to our hotel rooms, and I was a guy that I love to go out. That was like my release, basically. It was like I go give it all at the field. Afterwards, I go have a drink or whatever, chill. But nothing I ever did the night before affected the night the
right.
night after. You know what I mean? So I was one of those guys. But we all had a team dinner after that, and those are the best things, man. It's like guys having some sipping some wine, whatever it is, and like sharing stories, and like
Mhm.
that's one of the things as I after I retired that I missed about is just like hanging with the boys and like sharing stories and stuff like that. But because when you're doing that, it helps to unite the team and gets everyone feeling like an actual unit, one unit. And I feel like that type of bonding experience helps you through hard times. And
Yeah.
speaking of hard times, when you're going through a slump, when you're going through like a bad stretch of the season, what are the things you do to try to get out of that, both mentally and physically? Let's say like you're at a slump at the plate, right? And you can't seem to figure out whatever it is, you don't feel comfortable. You know, how do you navigate that mentally and physically?
So I think there's a lot of factors, but me personally, I like to go back to the basics. Think about everybody says baseball players are superstitious, and I think it's kind of true. I don't like to say superstitious. I like to say a little stitious because you just think about like the things you were doing when you were going well, like whatever it may have been. Like what were you thinking about at the plate? What were you doing? Like what was your mindset? What was your approach? Stuff like that. A lot of people try to swing their way out of slumps.
Hmm.
I'm not big into taking like 300 swings per game or trying to get like that many because I just think that tires you out. That just makes it worse. And sometimes I'm a firm believer in like the best thing to do is not to take a swing because like this year, so there was a couple times where I may have taken 5 swings or no swings before a game, and I went out and had like a 2 for 4, 3 for 4 night, and I'm like, why don't I just do this all the time? So I'm taking 300 swings and going 0 for 4, like
Right.
So I think just kind of confidence and going back to the basics for me it helps me a lot because there's gonna be those stretches. I mean, it's baseball. It's a tough sport, and it's already hard enough. You don't need to make it more complicated. So just having that good mindset, having a good approach, and confidence in yourself, knowing that everybody goes through this. The best of the best go through this. Tani goes through it. Judge goes through it. Mookie goes through it. Like
Yeah.
if they go through it, I'm definitely gonna go through it, and it's not a bad thing. Like it's just a I take it as a learning point. Like
Right.
for next time I'm in a slump, like how did I get out of this?
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned that, you know, you've taken no swings or 5 swings or whatever before and gone 3 for 4. And there's other times where, you know, you take a lot of swings or you don't think whatever it is, and you go 3 for 4 or 0 for 4, whatever it is. So like, do you notice anything different mentally when you're in those stretches going well or when you're going bad? Like, is there a difference to it all, or is it just sometimes just baseball happens?
I think there's both. I think sometimes it's just baseball, but sometimes it's definitely a mental aspect. Like when you're struggling, you try to do too much. You're
Mm.
trying to press. You're for your last 20. You're like, I need to get a knock here. Like I need to prove that I can hit, or I need to prove something, and that's just not the case. Like us as humans, we always try to press. Obviously, we're trying to perform well. We're trying to help our team win. But even when you're struggling, even when you're 0 for 4 on a day, you can do things away from the box that help your team win. You can could have had a
Dang.
walk and stole a bag, or could have made a good defensive play and help your team win, throw somebody out, whatever it is. So you don't always have to contribute offensively, since in this case we're talking a slump on offense. You don't always have to contribute offensively to help a team win. And so I think that's a big thing too, just knowing that, like, I don't always have to go 4 for 4 to, like, I guess, like, help my
Contribute.
team win, or yeah,
Yeah.
contribute. Yeah. So like that's a big thing, I think.
Yeah, no, that is an important point. I feel like, when someone isn't hitting or not performing at their what they feel is important, they think that they're not important overall. And there's other ways to be a good teammate. You know what I mean? To help your team win. That's one of the things that you can do is be a good teammate. If you're sulking in the corner, you may not be able to see. When someone at the plate, your teammate at the plate is doing something slightly different. You know what I mean? Where if you're in a good right state of mind, you're like, hey man, I saw your hands down, or whatever it was that is contributing them to fail or whatever. So like if you're able to stay with the right mindset, you're able to still watch the game in its full to be able to help out your team in another way other than producing at that moment. So that's
Absolutely.
that's a great that's a great lesson right there. I'll tell you when you weren't struggling is I read that you got play of the week one week, right? For like it was like a Derek Jeter type backhand throw. What did that feel like, man?
It was kind of just adrenaline filled. Like, I couldn't believe it. It was one of those plays that
Hmm.
you dream of as a kid. Like,
Yeah, that's what.
everybody always has, like,
Yeah,
those three and two outs. Like, let me get the game winning hit. But on defense, like, nobody really thinks about, like, defense. Like, I'm gonna win this game on defense. And so that was one of those times where I was like, damn, like, this is a play where, like, oh, it's a Derek Jeter play in the whole tight game. We're up one, or it's a tie game in the eighth. And Tommy Pham's a good runner. So I'm
yeah,
like, oh, I got to get rid of this thing. So I just, like, I blacked out on the moment, honestly. Like, I just remember fielding it, and I was like, I got to get rid of this. So I just, like, jumped and let it eat. And I was like, wherever this is going to go is going to go. And so luckily I put it right on the bag, but it was one of those moments where I blacked out, and everybody was, like, super hyped for me, but I was so shocked in the moment that people were like trying to get my attention, like, yo, that's sick. And I was just, like, kind of there, like, damn, did I really just do that?
yeah.
So
Well, it's funny you say blackout, and I feel like for me, that's what almost like being in the zone felt like. Not exactly blackout. Like at initially, that's what it felt like. Like,
yeah,
damn, I got in the zone and I'm sitting on the bench after I just dominated. I'm like, whoa, that was crazy. What happened? And then I got more and more familiar with it. Then I was able to play with it. So for me, I was able to like whenever I was in the zone, it felt like I could choose to hear nothing,
mm,
or I can choose if the crowd's booing. If I'm at a away stadium and they're booing, I could like use that booing and put it in the ball and be like, all right, I'm using that as energy. Or if the
yeah,
crowd's cheering, I can like, yes, let's go. I'm like, I get chills thinking about it right now, bro. That I was
yeah,
closing out a ball game. I'm like, give me this energy. You know what I mean? Or if I was like, I need to really like lock in, I can make
yeah,
it quiet. Now, when I
for sure.
wasn't in the zone, I could hear the person in the front row. I can hear like, especially in Marlins Park, I can hear the lights buzzing, and that would remind me of something negative, and then my mind would go somewhere negative. So
Right.
explain to me what the zone feels like to you, and also what not being in line or not being in the zone also feels like mentally as well to you.
Yeah. So as a position player on offense, start on offense. On offense, being in the zone for me is not thinking about anything. Like, having an
Mm,
empty mind. Like, I already, like, I worked, I prepared for this. I'm gonna
mm,
let everything else take over. Like, I prepared for this moment. I'm ready. I can handle this. Letting that take over, because you just had a good plan. You had your approach. So you're just going up there with your approach. Say a guy throwing sinker slider, like, you're like, okay, I'm gonna look for this. I'm gonna look for a pitch middle up. Like, if it starts in that zone, I'm going, because I can recognize spin out of the hand if it's in that quadrant, and know if his sinker starts in that, it's not gonna sink. It's just gonna run a little
right.
bit. And I'm gonna be able to hammer it. So looking in that zone, that was me locked in. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just trusting myself.
Yep.
And then not being in the zone is just, like you said, hearing everything. Like hearing the guy who's saying something about my 2019 stats in that first row is like, yo, you
Yeah.
remember in 2019 when you were in low A, when you went 0 for 20? Yeah, that's what it is. It looks like you're doing that right now. And, like, that's just the difference. Like you said, like, when you're in the zone, you can drown everything out and you're locked in. And so I think that's what, for me, on offense it feels like. And on defense is a little different, because on defense, like, I like to listen to the crowd. I like to listen. I like when people are cheering in there. You can hear everything. That just kind of like
You feel more
builds you
comfortable
up.
out there?
Yeah,
That's
I
probably
think
why,
so.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so when you're not in the zone, when I'm not in the zone on defense, I'm kind of thinking about like, hey, like my hands, or like I'm thinking about a play that I botched or something that happened. Like
Yep.
thinking about, it's like just like super like locked in on something else that's not this pitch right now.
Mm.
So I think that's a big thing, is making sure that you're always locked in for that pitch.
Right.
And you can take a little break between pitches, but then once you hear that sign, or once you hear like, you need to be ready to go for that pitch.
And the $1 million question, I feel like, is how do you get from when you're in worried about all the other things or in that negative space, how do you push yourself and get into a more of a mental space that you prefer? Like, how do you switch that?
I you think about good things. You have a focal point, or you have something that you think about that reminds you of positive things and not of those negative things. Like a lot of people like to use like focal points like outside, like, okay, when I look at this certain thing, like it locks me in.
Mm.
And so that sometimes for me works, but for me most of the time it's just like that confidence in yourself, thinking like, okay, I just made this play yesterday, or something happened yesterday. Like I worked for this. I know I'm fully capable of doing everything that I'm doing right now because I prepared and done this a million times. Just not taking just taking the moment in how it is and not making it bigger than it needs to be, because you're there for reasons. Just confidence is a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge to like, to learn and know. I feel like, and it took me a little bit to learn that, um, to not try so hard, because I was a guy again that I had to work very, very hard, like more than most, because my size and my attributes, I wasn't throwing 100 miles an hour, so I felt like I had to do more to, like, I guess, show my value. When sometimes that was good to work that hard, but other times it made me do too much and get into those zones, and then I felt like I was spinning my wheels. So like, having that deep breath moment, all right, let me reset, let me allow this game to come to me, because if I try to force it, like that's whenever things just start to go wrong, right? Another thing, so in the minor leagues, I feel like there's all kinds of these crazy stories and crazy things that, like, you have to go through, right? What is your most memorable thing that happened in the minor leagues? It could be a long ass bus ride. I know I've had a lot of those with 13 hours, and I sat in the back of the bus, and with a lot of dudes in the back of the bus farting. This guy peeling the paint off the windows. Bro, it's nasty back there. So,
That's
do
funny.
you have any stories in mind that stick out to you in the minors or even in the big leagues? Like, what is
Yeah.
there any experiences that stick out to you?
So one that I have for sure was, there was 20, I want to say 2019 was my first season of like affiliate ball, where I got drafted in 18, so I played half the season, but my first full year of ball was in 19, and I broke camp with Hickory, which was low A at the time.
Mhm.
And our first road trip was from Hickory to Lakeview, New Jersey, and it was like a 16-hour bus ride. And so I've never been on a bus that long. I've never been on a trip that long. I remember getting on the bus and thinking like, what am I gonna do for 16 hours? Like, all right, I'm gonna get a pillow. I'm gonna fall asleep. I'm gonna have my own seat. Boy, was I wrong. But there was one bus for everybody, all the staff members, all the players. So everybody's
Oh,
doubled up. There's no space to do nothing. And what got me was some people that had already been there, had already gone through a full season. They bring they're like yoga mats. They bring yoga mats and like a pillow or a blanket or whatever, and they lay in the like under the seat, like
oh,
kind of you're under the seat. Yeah,
yeah.
people are under the seats. They put their yoga mat down and they use that as a bed. And then some people lay in the hallways. But what really got me was, I don't know how they did it, but this bus was weird. I don't know why the like overhead compartments were so big, but we had people go up top to the overhead compartments and lay up top in the overhead compartments. And I was like, this is pro ball. This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is not comfortable at all. There's 50, 60 people on this bus. There's no room. And like you said, like it's a bunch of dudes. Like dudes are gonna be dudes. The
And
people are gonna fart. They're gonna let it eat. Yeah, they don't care. They don't care about nothing. In the bathrooms in the back. I mean, all the Latin guys usually sit in the back, so
yeah.
we're in the back. That bathroom smells terrible. After 2 hours of bus ride, there had already been 20 people taking a piss, so it smelled so bad. That was a bad one.
Yeah, dude. So I got lucky. Well, so the bus that I was, so there was in low A. when I was in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Mm.
That's where we traveled the most hours, like sometimes 13, 14-hour bus rides. But somehow, like, it was a bus that on the top compartments actually had beds. So there was beds
It's
on the
dope.
top, and then there was like there was regular seating all the way up to halfway. Then there was like some beds and some like chairs. So like it was situated in a way where it can sleep like 13 guys, like can lay down, or 14 guys can lay down perfectly. So I got lucky with that, but still, it didn't save me from the farts.
Yeah.
And bro, like the way you eat in the minor leagues, I mean, especially some of the Latin guys, like they would bring coolers of food, you know what I mean? And like to have like their meats and everything in the cooler, then and a crock pot. When I was there, a crock pot, and they would put all the shit in the crock pot, and they would make their food there. And it would be like, I don't know, all the Latin guys, so it'd be like 8, 9 guys, and with one pack of meat. And still, even though they would still offer, hey, Ramo, you want to eat? And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, nah, man. I mean, there's a lot of you guys. No, there's enough. There was always
Yeah.
enough for
They
someone to
make
eat.
it
You
enough.
know what I mean? They made enough, even though if that like took away from their share, like they always made enough. And that's something that I'll always remember is like
Mhm.
the camaraderie of being in the trenches, man. That's what it is. You're in the trenches
For
down
real.
there, bro. So like that's one of the stories that I remember too, is just like being so involved there, and like, just having a good time, even though when I think about the situation now, and like after being in the big leagues for a lot of years, like thinking about it and like, having to do that again is like, yeah, that's a lot. But in that time, it's like, yo, that was some of the funnest times I've ever had,
For sure.
even going like to a dive bar where it's just my teammates there, and just
Mhm.
we're all having drinks, like just shooting the shit, swapping stories, bro. Like
Yeah.
those are some of the most fun times that I've ever had. But
That's what I've
here,
heard too. That's what I've heard, that like a lot of guys after they retire, like if there's one thing I miss the most about playing, it's the teammates. It's having however many teammates you have, having 20, if there's 26, you having 25 different conversations, because everybody's different. Everybody comes from a different place. Like
yep,
rarely do you get like people that are from the exact same place. I know, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's what they miss the most. Like after baseball, after the travel, whatever, like, yeah, that's cool and all, but just the people that you meet along the way and the memories that you make are just
yeah,
unforgettable.
it's different. And like like the time, especially football season, was the best, the funnest time for me. Walking into the clubhouse, college football or pro football being on, everyone sitting around watching it, and like talk. They're all in fantasy football. I never did
Mhm.
fantasy football, but just being around the environment, and I used to love going in the locker rooms and like catching that time, man. This will be my last question to you. Uh, out of From your career so far, what is the biggest lesson that you have learned so far, and something that you would pass along to your younger self or someone of that same age, like around 16, 15 years old? Like what is the best piece of advice that you can offer based off of what you've learned so far in your career?
I think it would be always like work hard. Work hard is obviously everybody's gonna say that, but it's true. Like you can never be too prepared. You're never nobody's perfect. You can always learn. You can always get better. That's a big one. But I think the biggest one is the one we talked about earlier. The lesson that adults gave me is you're a star. You're a star. You got to this point. You're a star. You're just waiting to kind of to burst.
Right.
You're just waiting to evolve into to shine brighter, because you're already here. You shine, but when you get that opportunity is when you're going to be able to shine brighter. So I think that's something that's going to be with me forever, because I mean, like, as far as the Rangers are, the Rangers are loaded. So
Yep.
it's gonna be like that for a while. You know, the Semien and Seager are gonna be here for another 4, 5, 6, 7 years, however long their contracts are. But just to taking that into consideration, like I'm a star regardless of where I am. I got to this point, and when I get my opportunity, I'm gonna be able to take advantage and just like kind of play loose, let it loose, because what you are and what you've done have gotten you to that point. So why change who you are?
Mm.
Because if it's got you that far, I mean, obviously it's impressive. It's yeah, you know what I mean. So
Hell
so
yeah.
that
I mean, it's got you to the big leagues, bro. It's
yeah.
got you to do one of the most rare things in sports and in life, really. I mean, you're a
Mhm.
small percentage of the people that be able to experience the big leagues. You know what I mean? So, like, obviously, what you've been doing is good enough to get you there. And that's one of the reasons why I like this podcast and like talking to different people like yourself who have succeeded, because there's always something that I learned. There's always a different perspective that I learned. And that's the reason why I want people to see this and watch this, because like that's what you just said, what Adolis told you is amazing. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it allows you to be prepared for the opportunity when the opportunity comes, and not
Right.
to sweat, not to like sweat like that you haven't gotten the opportunity yet. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like if you're worried about that, you're worried about the wrong thing. It's like continue to work, and when that opportunity comes, you're going to be ready for it if you continue to work. If you continue to
Absolutely.
worry about where you are at this moment, lacking the opportunity, then when that opportunity comes, you spent too much time worrying about the wrong thing, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's a great message. That's a great question to end on, great answer to end on, man. And I really appreciate you taking the time, man, and allowing me to get to know you just a little bit more and allowing the audience to learn from you. I wish you nothing but the continued success. I know that once you get your opportunity, just your mindset right now, you're going to crush it, man, and continue being you. And thank you again for coming on, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
You too.